Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. We're going to be starting about, right on time. We just got some players loaded in. We're going to be doing some hot King of the Hill action today. Whoops. Sorry, music. You're supposed to stop there. Got Big Block versus Zimmerick's up first. And let's get to it. Here we are, right on time. Greenskins versus Chaos. Going to be getting straight to the action. We've got Tamanten, Tomas, Massier, Patrick. Hope I'm pronouncing that. Massier? I don't know. Alex, Nirab. Hello, hello. Right? Bannerlord took all Total War streamers, including me. I have been playing not only on stream, but off stream a ton of Bannerlord because that game is amazing. So, yeah. Here we are today. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys. We're going to be getting started with the classic Empire versus Chaos matchup. All kinds of guts and gore and blood and thunder and all that jazz. For the Greenskins, we'll start with their build. Big Block coming in with some Night Goblins. He's got Trolls, Black Orcs, looks like Orc, Error Boys, and the Rusty Errors. A Broken Tusk Mob with Wurzag leading the way. Not too many surprises there. The Trolls are definitely a nice touch here in this matchup. Looks like we've got Mangy Marauders and Spooder Riders. For the Warriors of Chaos, cleverly hidden in the woods are Archaon the Ever-Chosen with his Swords of Chaos and one more unit of Power Sword Chaos Knights. These guys are actually really good right now. They're basically like mounted, not quite chosen, but pretty close. 44 attack, 50 defense, 46 weapon strength with 14 AP, and a 44 charge bonus. Just makes them a great kind of Swiss Army knife type unit. We've also got some chosen with great weapons, and it looks like Chaos Marauders. Chaos Marauders with great weapons in the center, so a nice mix of light infantry in the front and some Horse Masters with Warhounds. So interesting builds. The Greenskins, Wurzag's definitely a very strong choice, but I do think that Archaon's potentially a good choice here. The one thing about this Chaos build, I will say, both builds actually don't have any terror, so I guess these guys just both electing not to bring any monsters, which is nice to see, honestly. It's a good change of pace. Don't necessarily always have to bring terror, but against the Greenskins, definitely I would recommend it. From a mechanics standpoint, it's just very strong against them. Horse Masters are coming forward to do some skirmishing. It's like they're going to be throwing Danger Close right at those Night Goblins. They do get some pretty good damage. Horse Masters actually have very good missile damage. The Goblins are pretty cheap, and they also have a missile block chance, so how much value is this really? It's hard to say. These Horse Masters are probably going to want to pull back and try and conserve their ammo to try and take out those Trolls, but Archaon and the Cavalry of Zimmerick is going to push up and around this flank, try and take the high ground here potentially, and get a nice downhill engagement there, but these Marauders are going to have a bad time. Gobos actually will trade very well here because of the poison, and a nice Wah being popped with a beautiful timing push as well, just right up the front. These Trolls, Black Orcs, just absolutely going to pummel these Marauders with great weapons. Going to be a very one-sided engagement here in the front line. Even like 8-peak Loons against Marauder great weapons, that's a beautiful engagement. Nice brain burster there as well from Wurzag, just to juice it all the way up to 83 on himself. I mean, 66 on those Trolls, 58 on Night Goblins, and they just trade more or less 1-to-1. But the Chaos flank push is coming here. You can see Archaon unleashes a Burning Head. Nice dodge from a Big Block there. And the Knights of Chaos slamming into the flank here, getting on some of these Greenskin missile units. The Borer Boys immediately going to respond, though, and a very nice... what is that? Oh, this foot might be a little bit misplaced here. You see this explosion should be right on top of these Knights rather than right next to them, but it still does an extreme amount of damage to those Chaos Knights there. A beautiful FG to get. Foot of Gork combo. This flank push is still pretty heavy, though. We've got the Chosen with great weapons into the fight, basically untouched, which is really good news for them. Likewise, the Swords of Chaos, cascading Fire Cloak on them, up to 76 armor piercing with 85 melee defense. They're going to be very close to untouchable, so that timing push may have been entirely bait. You can see the balance of power still very close as, yeah. that all those marauders have been defeated, but it was such low value anyway. The thing is, can these chosen... Oh, look at this burning head. This is a beautifully lined up burning head. Regardless of whether Big Block dodges it or not, he's not able to fully connect on that nice charge with the big blob there, allowing the chosen to then get in and utilize their charge bonus, start to block those units up. The Swords of Chaos also should be getting a good charge here on those trolls, but it looks like they actually missed their charge order there, get engaged by the Broken Tusk Mob. It is a little bit unfortunate with their good stats and charge bonus with that extra fire damage as well. They could have annihilated those trolls very quickly, but it looks like instead they do actually, a few of them come through and do connect there, and you see how quickly those trolls just melt that fire damage. That's very, very impressive. These chosen, though, starting to take some significant damage. They're engaged and kind of spread out, fighting black orcs all over the place. Looks like we've got some fanatics trying to fend off the return of the marauders. Beautifully placed there. It's going to shatter that unit and probably shatter the next unit, and even connects on a couple of horse masters there. How about that? But good Overwatch fire on the on the skulkers here. Likewise, hounds and knights being used to tie up missile units. We check over on the far side, though. The chosen, they're still fighting. They got standard eye up to 70 melee defense, but they are going to be fully surrounded here as Savage Orc Biggins are now coming in for a rear charge. This is a very uncomfortable situation. Yeah, despite the heavy armor here, I mean, Savage Orc Biggins just have so much weapon strength. You can see the chosen are so heavily outnumbered here, and not only by Savage Orcs, but there's trolls, there's the Broken Tusk Mob, there's Black Orcs here. Looks like we're going to have another Burning Head from Archaon. It does actually roast out quite a few of his own Marauders, it looks like, but able to maybe get some good work done on the Greenskins. The leadership effect is enough to actually break those Trolls and the Savage Orcs as well, so not completely out of the woods yet. Now it's going to be just the Black Orcs fighting mano-a-mano, the Swords of Chaos. I guess not quite one-on-one, but this is suddenly turning very favorable for the Warriors of Chaos here as the balance of power tips. Yeah, I must have missed. Yeah, where's that getting sniped by Archaon? Wow, I'm very impressed that heavy Chaos flank push downhill actually worked out pretty well, with the Marauders just being absolutely sacrificed to the gods in the front line. I actually really like that from Zimmerix. You don't see the Swords of Chaos used super often, but this build definitely got some punch. Definitely. Fun stuff. I haven't heard anything. I know just as much as you guys. I have not heard any news, so yeah. Once I hear stuff, I'll be sure to be covering that. But it looks like one player might have dropped. I'm not sure. Maybe just a big lag spike, but Warriors of Chaos have this one pretty well wrapped up. Yeah, that initial engagement, just sacrificing those Marauders, allowing the flank to just get crumped pretty hard there, and then some really nice kind of supporting engagements. And those chosen, man, if we look, I can't actually highlight their kill total, but oh, I don't know. Everything's good on my end. Musket animations for Bannerlord. I'm sure modders will be able to. I'm sure modders will be able to. And they'll probably want to make an updated version of the Napoleon thing, because that's quite popular as well. But yeah. For myself, having black powder weapons, yeah, that's going to be army losses for the Greenskins right there. Having black powder weapons for the... yeah, just in general, because obviously I want to be a Pistolier in Mountain Blade, and I want to be a Pistolier in Bannerlord, especially because Bannerlord looks great, and it plays very, very good too. It's definitely some unfinished things, but anyway. Well played to Big Block and Zimmerix there. I love that build from Zimmerix, just sacrificing those Marauders up front. Some of them ended up actually coming back and getting some good kills in the late game. 52 kills there. I guess that's really the only one, but 78 on the Chosen with great weapons, 2 XP chevrons, 100 kills on those Power Sword Chaos Knights. I love these guys right now. And then the Horse Masters as well, pretty underrated, but they were providing some really nice rear charge and like rear shot penalties. The excellent use of the Hounds to flank and chase routing units as well. 85 kills on Hounds is effective. 86 for these Horse Masters. That's good stuff all around. You can see there's a lot of kill totals for certain things on the Greenskins roster, but it's mostly just from crumping those Marauders pretty hard. Like the missile line got shut down super hard, and I guess that's kind of why you go like non-monster in this matchup, right? Is that you can then just crump this missile line so hard. There's really not a lot of great targets for these Orc Airboys to be shooting at, to be honest. And so you just come in with a big mobile flank and crush that super hard. That's a big amount of value gone right away. Kind of just trade your front line for that, more or less. And yeah, it worked out pretty well. That was a fun one. Good stuff. Let's get the next player on deck. Like we've got Consul of Rome up next. Let's see here. We'll get some music playing in the meantime. Pop this back on, and let's go to playlist here. Okay. Just getting people added and everything. Consul of Rome, I don't think I have had on stream yet, so we gotta get him added to the friends list. And there he is. Excellent. We'll come in here. Excellent, and he's here now. Looks like we're going to be adding tank to the list as well. So we'll have a move hacker on deck next. And then tank coming in after that. So, hello. What's up, Aristo? Welcome, welcome. Dawi versus Skaven matchup. It's an interesting one. I actually think recently I've come around to the Dawi not being completely useless in that matchup. I do think bolt throwers are pretty underrated there. Just having a cheap artillery piece is really nice. I almost think that I'm really convinced now that no faction can outshoot the dwarves, really. Like properly. I mean, you can, if you scale like specific build versus specific build, yes, you can scale very heavily there, but let's see. So, yep, Zimmerix last time. Let's see, he picked Chaos and then I believe banned. I can't remember exactly. But we are playing on the banner rules. So, yep, if you look in the description below, you can see the there's a link to the rules set. Yep, because they don't... The reason why they're 150 cheaper is, Aristo, is because they have shorter range and they don't bring the special ammo types, right? Not that the scatter shot is actually useful for anything, but... Looks like he's going to go Vampire Counts, ban Empire and Dwarfs, and Consul of Rome going to counterpick with the High Elves. Vampire Council, take them. Yeah, because that's what we need. Vampire Counts artillery. Oh, wait. That's just Vampire Coast, right? No, but imagine, if you will, I don't know that this is going to happen. This is purely tinfoil hat speculation. Are you ready? Tinfoil hats on. Okay. In Game 3, if we get a big bad Nagash DLC at some point, not saying that we will, but if we do, it would be kind of cool to see like a combined, like, Vampire Counts, Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast roster that has like the low tier stuff of all three, and then only a few select high tier things from each. Like, obviously they wouldn't have any of the vampire specific stuff. Like, you wouldn't have Blood Knights, you wouldn't have, I don't know, maybe the Mortis engine is Nagash specific enough, but like you wouldn't have the Black Coach, for example. You'd have like maybe you wouldn't have like Tomb Guard or Grave Guard or Depth Guard, but maybe just like a Nagash's Guard, you know, a special upper tier skeleton. Or maybe you just have Grave Guard, I don't know. Like, you could have like different types of zombies, you could have like some certain Tomb King's constructs, because, you know, Arcan the Black will bring those along. And I don't know the lore enough, I don't know enough about the lore to really construct like a cohesive roster. I know, I want to say that Nagash's faction had an army in the end times, but I don't remember exactly what it was, so it'd be cool though to see like a Nagash like combined faction in the end game. I think that could potentially be cool. I know I'm actually talking about new undead stuff that could be cool, and of course I'm famous for hating undead, and that's actually not true. I don't hate undead per se. I actually really like the Tomb Kings aesthetically. I just think that crumbling is kind of a boring mechanic, to be honest, and needs a rework. But especially if they rework crumbling, I am more than happy for them to add all the undead stuff they want to the game. Yeah, Dark Elves have the same range. That's true, Aristo, but Dark Elves also get Murderous Prowess on their bolt throwers, so they can potentially have higher damage while that's going, right? Yep. Gothicus Maximus, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Consul of Rome, been around for a while, I think. I want to say I remember him playing like back in the Rome 2 days. Obviously, Consul of Rome would make sense with that name, but I disagree, Bodvar. I think crumbling is really boring. Like, when I'm playing undead, when my units are crumbling, I don't care. Like, I literally just don't care at all, right? And that's boring. When I'm playing against undead, when the enemy units are crumbling, I'm just like, okay, when's it gonna go? When's it gonna go? 5 minutes later. When's it gonna go? It's just a unit of zombies. Come on. You know? Like, it's boring. Like, yeah, it's just, and I actually, like, I've been doing, I keep talking about this. I just haven't had the time to finish it yet, because believe it or not, I've been actually very busy during quarantine. But based on the research I've done around crumbling, like, a lot of units simply, like, mathematically, it's almost impossible to get them to disintegrate. Like, it's Luthor Harkon, it's literally impossible to get him to disintegrate. There are even some units that have enough leadership that army losses alone, like won't get them into disintegration. So it's like they just need to rework the math a little bit, specifically for disintegration, because it's not working properly. And it wouldn't take much. Like, it really wouldn't take much to make crumbling balanced and interesting again. But anyway, I've talked enough about that in previous videos and such. Anyway, speaking of undead, we do have some undead here. Let's have a look at their build. Looks like some Blood Knights out in the open field there. Totally forgot to switch the map. That's okay. We've got Heinrich Kemmler on horseback with 2 Vikings. I think we saw this build from Zimmerix last time, or something similar. Corpse Cart. Mortis Engine, we've got Sternsmen, zombies. Pretty light on numbers, honestly, with some skeletons and Graveguard and such, but he does have this little kind of hit squad right here. Got some Dire Pack as well. For the High Elves, quite a bit of elite infantry here, which is interesting to see. 3 Swordmasters, 2 Phoenix Guard, and some spears, Alariel the Radiant, and the Fireborn. Wow, Alariel's on foot. That's interesting. This could potentially be pretty risky against the Vampire Count's build here, because those White Kings have anti-infantry. I mean, granted, Alariel has almost 70 melee defense on foot, so she's basically like Vlad with less armor and less weapon strength. But, I mean, she's exceptionally tanky, and not to mention she's got, what, 12% physical resistance. She can give herself more physical resistance, has tons of healing potential as well, magic damage and immune to psychology. Actually, her on foot maybe isn't the worst thing in the world, but these White Kings do have anti-infantry. Krell has anti-large, but he also has really good melee attack. I think he has like probably 50, 60 melee attack, I want to say. But yeah, I guess only 34 attack with plus 14 bonus versus infantry. 44. That's still going to be like minimum base chance to hit against Alariel, so maybe it's not actually that bad. It's actually, no, it's not. It's not Aristo. That's not true. Army losses is only minus 120. That's your values are incorrect, sir. I recently discovered army losses is only minus 120. And so most undead units will not, like even Helman Gorst, like just with that minus 120, will not disintegrate from that. So. Vlad has less melee defense, yeah. I mean, why not take the Star Dragon? Well, number one, because, you know, you don't want to. That's a valid reason. And number two is that maybe he gonna try this thing. I'm interested to see how this does. The only problem with this is the Claw of Nagash, right? He doesn't have any ranged units, and he's gonna basically have to use the mobile pressure to get at it. Otherwise, it can just like sit on top of his infantry and drain it all to death. But there is a lot of infantry here, and as long as he doesn't get overly blobbed up, he should be able to kind of take these engagements like spread out wide, because this Mortis engine can only really be in one place, right? But having it come in and do a bunch of damage to these Swordmasters is going to be pretty painful. That being said, it's also kind of overextending here, so potentially getting the Fireborn, like you put them right in this little pocket right here and just rush on through with their fire damage and anti-large. They should absolutely pancake that thing, but it looks like they're going to go for a charge on those Skeleton Warriors in the front line. Quick contact and pull away there. Deploy these spears to help screen out those Blood Knights and such. Getting an Earthblood already on those Swordmasters. You can see Alariel's here. She honestly could go after this Mortis engine with her own melee attacks. I guess the Claw of Nagash does have magic resistance, so it might not be the best per se, but the Phoenix Guard are here. They're going to be protecting, and it looks like Alariel is actually taking some damage. I guess the charge bonus of those White Kings will allow them to still get some hits there, certainly. But, ooh, the Wind of Death. The Swordmasters just like all bear hug the Sternsmen and actually don't get hit by that too bad. That was pretty good. The second unit of Swordmasters definitely took a lot more damage from that. But so far, not too bad. We've still got quite a few elite infantry units here, and the Swordmasters over on the far flank are just cleaning up shop against Graveguard and zombies, which is pretty cost effective. Alariel is still being pressured pretty hard by these White Kings, but that also means that they're going to end up getting caught up in the Phoenix Guard. And Krell's here. Oh man, Krell comes in with a giant left hook on Alariel. He has, what, 55 melee attack? So even still, he's only got like a 20% chance to hit on Alariel. That's 20% chance too many, though, considering his massive weapon strength. It only takes a couple of hits to deal with her, so she's having to pull away there. The Fireborn being pressured. Going to run into a little bit of a numbers issue, and ooh man, this rear charge could hurt, except they're actually going to now countercharge against the Blood Knights. Just going all in, all brave, you know, for the, I don't know, whatever elf gods they worship. I'm not familiar, to be honest. Yeah. A little bit of a lag spike here, but we should be able to push through. Yeah, the Mortis engine's really effective versus the elves because the lower HP pool. That is correct. That is correct. It's a big target. You can see Hero of Rome is rushing in a lot of resources here. Those Blood Knights got hard collapse there. by the Fireborn. They took a ton of damage. We have a nice Earthblood as well coming in. That catches the Keepers of the Flame and the Fireborn, so that's a ton of value from Alarielle. Granted, she's still getting hunted. She's just about at her healing cap from those White Kings, but she's doing her best to cut and run and keep healing and keep that pressure up, get rid of these high-value units. Those Blood Knights are probably done for. The Grave Guard over here, these two infantry can now rush up and try and help, but things are not looking amazing in terms of the balance of power for the High Elves. This Corpse Cart, though, getting taken down, that could be a great pick as well. Getting rid of that supporting element there, that extra HP and extra, attack and defense from that, that's very, very strong. So we'll see. The Mortis Engine not being in melee combat means that it's not going to continue to get its drain effect, which is very important, certainly. Alarielle throwing down another Earthblood there on herself. She's got to stay away from the Mortis Engine if she can. It does have anti-infantry and a good amount of melee attack as well. 48 melee attack. Not the most weapon strength in the world, but it can get hits on her, believe it or not. But this is great. The Corpse Cart's going down. We've got some reinforcements coming in from the high ground. This White King's also getting torn to shreds by those Phoenix Guards. So the High Elf Elite Infantry seems to be paying off so far. The Fireborn are going to have to be careful, but the Mortis Engine's back into melee to do some draining, but this is great. Disintegration finally hits on that Corpse Cart. Swordmasters can then kind of pile in here. Swordmasters, although they're not halberds, they do have good enough attack and defense to get consistent hits against something like the Claw of Nagash. Only 18 melee defense there. They're absolutely going to be getting consistent hits with their weapon strength. And again, the armor piercing, non-armor piercing doesn't really matter too much. Claw of Nagash only has 40 armor, but this is a nice positioning get here. If you can get a rear charge on that Mortis Engine with these guys, you can see the Fireborn kind of maneuvering out behind. Doesn't look like they're going to get the greatest charge here, though. But at the very least, they do pull into the healing effect there. Mortis Engine's trying to pull away from them, kind of sensing what's coming. But even against the Fireborn, or the Sternsmen, I mean, the extra fire damage will do a bit there. They'd get rear charged by the Doggos, but that healing sustain going to keep them just barely in the fight. Thankfully, that is hitting these Keepers of the Flame, man. Still 72 models left. And it's going to be tough to take these guys down for sure. But we'll see who's going to run out of steam first. I do think that the High Elves probably have this. Hero of Rome, or Consul of Rome rather, no real reason to blob in a lot of these units, and probably could take this engagement against Heinrich with Alarielle. She'll most likely just beat him one-on-one. She does have much better stats. But with the White Kings nearby, could be potentially an issue. But yeah, I think this is a wrap for the High Elves. Just couldn't get through that elite infantry. I do think that just need to go a little bit wider on the Vampires side, just to have more stuff, more chaff for the Claw of Nagash to sit on top of. Like, even those skeletons, I probably would have traded 1-for-1 for like double the number of zombies. What did he have, like 2 or 3 skeleton warriors? We'll have to check, but just bringing a wider amount of stuff for the elves to have to cut through, and it leaves your Mortis Engine more things to sit on top of, certainly. But nice build from Consul of Rome here. Going again, no monsters. The no monster meta is winning out today. It kind of makes me happy, almost, because I'm not the biggest fan of the monster play. I mean, I know that's one of the things that makes Total War Warhammer unique, and I do love certain aspects of it, but it just kind of gets stale after a while, seeing every game as a monster mash. So something like this is pretty cool. I like this a lot. It's nice to see. A good change of pace, for sure. Yeah, I would have liked to see the chevrons climb. The Mortis Engine is the only unit in the game that can consistently get like 6 chevrons in a battle if you leave it alone, or like if you have it and your opponent leaves it alone. But yeah, fun. I don't think he had enough chaff. This is, I mean, you still have a whole row of units you could take here. So literally, like, I would cut 1 unit of zombies here, or 1 skeleton, bring 3 more zombies, and then I'd probably cut 1 grave guard and bring a bunch of spears as well. Just with the Mortis Engine, like, you need stuff for it to sit on top of, because you don't want it taking the hits, right? Not only that, but it heals the zombies as they're fighting and crumbling as well. So you just get a lot of value in that way. But Swordmasters cleaned up shop. Phoenix Guard did a great job as well. Fireborn. I like this build from Consul of Rome quite a bit. Not something you see every day. I like Zimerix's build as well, honestly. Both of them kind of fun and different, but cool. Yeah, Wind of Death missing. That's a lot of Winds of Magic lost. I mean, it got like half contact on one unit of Swordmasters, which is okay. It's not the best, but ugh. I don't necessarily super disagree with the pick of the non-ROR wolves. You just need to use them only for chasing routing units, and you could even argue that a unit of bats would be more cost-effective for that. There's certainly some merit to that. But as purely as having them for chasing routing units off, because elf units have pretty good leadership, when you break them, you can get a ton of free damage because of their low health. And you don't want them coming back, because it can be really hard to break them in the late game, potentially. I don't know. Maybe a unit of bats would have been better, and that could have been the source of like one more zombie even, rather than cutting any skeletons. Why people don't take Strigoi? Probably because he's not amazing in this matchup at least, but no dance. I agree. No dance macabre. That's a mistake in my opinion. Dance macabre is super necessary. It Sorry, my voice, guys. Ugh. Need to get a drink here real quick. My apologies. Against high elves, especially, like any faction that has good melee stats, you need Dance Macabre. Because your units, by and large, have terrible melee stats, right? Like, just awful. So you need your corpse carts for that +5/+5, and you need Dance Macabre for overcasting for a big power spike in terms of attack, so that your units can get consistent hits. But I mean, like, if you have, like, let's say you have a corpse cart and you overcast, you have a giant death blob of zombies and skeletons with some corpse cart support. If you overcast Dance Macabre on that blob, they're going to be hitting, like about state troops or more, like juiced up gobos almost, right? Like, they'll hit hard, considering how cheap they are and considering that they're, like, unbreakable chaff, basically. Dance Macabre is just so good, especially against, again, any kind of elves, dwarves as well, like any chaos, I would say. Also, any faction that tends to have high melee attack and defense on their units. So everybody dance macabre now. Dun, 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 dun. Just all the skeletons doing a dance. Oh yeah, you know it. Yeah, the Klob Nagash is 1700. It's for sure worth it. Even just sometimes just as a distraction. Like if you look at my Heinrich Kemmler build, I have Heinrich and the 2 White Kings on foot just to make them a little bit. Or it's only 1 White King, right? And Heinrich has no spells, and then I have the spells on a Corpse Cart Necromancer, and so like every target, there's 2 Blood Knights plus the Mortis Engine, each 1700. And then all of my other important targets are like 800, like 750 to 800, like Kemmler, like Ceramation looks like he wants to join, so awesome. I'm glad to have you, man. Yes. Vampires aren't the best mages technically, but lore of vampires is the best lore of magic in the game. I won't argue that. Thankfully we don't have right now, at least. Fingers crossed. We don't have a caster that has Greater Arcane Conduit and Lore of Vampires. I mean, you can get pretty close to the same effect with Manfred with Sword of Unholy Power, but it's not. I mean, you have to be in melee, and there's some other conditions to it, right? But, like, yeah. Dance Macabre is really good on Wraiths, for sure. And Wraiths, also Wraiths have pretty good speed as well, and Dance Macabre also has a speed component. So, like, for example, if you're chasing a unit of enemy heavy cavalry with your Wraiths, which is totally a valid use for them, you cast Dance Macabre and they have the speed to chase them and the melee attack to get consistent hits against them. They have pretty good weapon strength as well, armor piercing. So, actually, yeah, Dancing Wraiths is a strong combo for sure. For sure. But, yeah, we don't have a Greater Arcane Conduit caster with Lore of Vampires yet. If we do end up getting Big Bad Nagash himself, I'd imagine that he would be a powerhouse, like the powerhouse caster, with probably a mixed Lore of Vampires, maybe some unique spells. Hard to say, but... yeah. I mean, you can already get pretty close to the same effect with either the Neckarch. I mean, you have Forbidden Rod as well, so you can stack, like, hero level and lord level regeneration effects. If you have, like, let's say you have Manfred with Sword of Unholy Power, he has the Other Winds recharge ability, and, let's see. Not sure where A move is at, so we might just move on to tank here. I'm waiting for him. Oh, no, here he is. Right on time. Okay, cool. So yeah, yeah, the Greater Arcane Conduit on a Lore of Vampire casters would be instantly the best lord in the game, for sure. But Nagash, Oh, it's you, Tank. I didn't recognize because your name is in Cyrillic. Okay. I see. Now it makes sense why you're talking about vampire counts. Stroking the sweet rod of corruption. The forbidden. Okay, poll in the chat. What is worse, the forbidden rod, the wand of jet, or the rod of corruption? Which would you rather have? Okay, this track is a little slow for me. Let's move it on to the next one. There we go. Tank never talks about vampire counts. Rod of corruption. Yeah, well, the forbidden rod actually kills you when you touch it, so. I personally would prefer to have the wand of jet because it actually gives you more power recharge rate. But I guess rod of corruption just kills people straight up, so that's also good. It's less steps, to be honest. Doom Eternal OST? I should download it, honestly. Alright, looks like we're gonna have Empire versus Lizardmen here on Altdorf Outskirts. So these guys got their picks locked in, gonna be getting their armies ready. I'm excited today, guys. It's a good day. Glad you all are here. Glad you all are here, enjoying. I've been enjoying the heck out of streaming extra for you guys during this rough time. Yeah, just putting out a lot of extra content, trying to at least. So, let me ask you this: I've been playing a little bit of one of my IRL friends convinced me to download Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, on my PC because it's actually cross-platform, and I did not know this. But apparently it is cross-platform, and for those of you who know first-person shooters, you'll know that that's like a significant advantage to be using a mouse and keyboard versus people who are using console controllers. And in the past, like, you know, prior to me starting a YouTube channel, I have played a lot of first-person shooters, especially like Battlefield, not COD, like way back in the day when like COD 4 was new. I was like 13, but would you guys be interested in seeing some Warzone gameplay of me and my friends playing in a squad? We're not bad. I mean, we're not amazing, but especially me playing against console kiddies, like I feel like that's just unfair, to be honest. But would that be something you guys would watch? Let me know. I've been considering streaming that and some other games, like some non-Total War content on Twitch. Is that something you guys would rather prefer to see here on YouTube, or would you prefer to keep this feed? And people who are watching after the fact, feel free to let me know in the comments as well. Is this something you guys would prefer to see in the YouTube feed or separate? But, yeah. Hot rod of corruption. Good one, Sarmation. Yep, I totally agree, Matthew. It's like, I was very surprised when I was like, oh, they're allowing PC on cross-platform. I thought it was just Xbox versus PlayStation, because that would actually be fair. But, like, you're going to let PC players into this with mouse and keyboard against people with console? What? Against people with console controllers? Like, that's super, super one-sided. I'm sorry, but especially because, like, with my fancy MMO mouse, I have, like, reprogrammable buttons on the side. I can get all these fancy hotkeys. Like, really? All right, let's go pwn some noobs, as they used to say. But anyway, let's have a look at these builds here on Altdorf Outskirts. We've got Empire, Consul of Rome. Going to be led by, what is that, an Archlector? Archlector on foot. Wow, Consul of Rome going with the foot support lords today. I am very interested in this build. I like it a lot. Light Wizard, we've got a whole mess of state troops, flagellants, looks like handgunners. Empire Knights, no pistoliers. I guess it does have handgunners, so I can't be too mad. But flagellants, halberdiers, great swords. So definitely looking, again, more of an infantry-centric composition with the buffs. He does have nets, and Shem's Burning Gaze. Actually, no Barona's Time Warp or Foz Protection is pretty interesting to me. But, yeah, let's have a look at the lizardmen. A nice, wide lizardmen build. I really like this build from A-Move a lot here. It doesn't have terror. Again, both players not bringing any monsters. Oh, no, it does have one monster here. Feral Bastildon. Why not? So cheap. We've got some horned ones, skink cohort, some chameleons up front, more javs, red crests, 2 spear riders. Looks like Red Crest Chief going to be leading a bunch of Popopok's cohort. Awesome. We've got more cohorts over to the side, and a Heavens Skink. Interesting. I like the pick of the Red Crest Chief here, actually, quite a bit. He does have anti-large AP and poison. He's kind of like He's kind of like the anti-large version of the Gobbo Big Boss, or the War Boss, rather, only without the OP Tormentor Sword, which is what makes the Gobbo so good. But this guy instead has this AoE Instinct, AoE Stops Rampage, which is pretty good. It's arguably, I don't know, I almost would rather have the castable one because it has a little bit longer range, even though it is only single target. Usually you don't need to get a big blob of stuff unenraged, but anyway. they think PC players play with one hand. That's funny. That's funny. No, I have an MMO mouse. I've got it specifically to increase my skill with Warhammer, and it actually has helped quite a bit. If the company would sponsor me, I'd love to make a video about it, but until they do, I don't know that I actually would. I don't know if they would actually sponsor me either. That's pretty good, Matthew. That's pretty good. I could actually use my mouse as a lethal weapon because it has like different weights you can put in, and when you put in all the weights, it's pretty heavy. Like, you could definitely swing that thing around by the cord. Anyway. Office murders aside. Beautiful Wind Blast just cutting through those Sigmar Suns. Does a ton of HP damage there. Only kills one model, but look at this. The Cohort of Sotek versus the Sons of Sigmar. The two unbreakable kind of low-tier units clashing. The Sons of Sigmar, because they took that HP damage, are just going to get absolutely ransacked on this charge. Yeah, they just immediately lose like 10, 20 models on the charge. That's brutal. Absolute brutality on those red crests there. But you can see the Papa Pox cohort do get a little bit caught up by some flagellants. Going to get now countercharged by Empire Knights. That's really bad. That's a pretty expensive unit with not the best melee defense. 48 charge bonus of that. Those Empire Knights will do well. Meanwhile, on the front line, we've got other engagements. Archlectors coming in. Handgunners don't have the best line of sight here, but now starting to get some effective fire on that center pocket of Cold One Riders. The Cold One Riders, though, are, the Horned ones rather, able to actually get on the silver bullets there. That's a great get. We've also got just this super wide Lizardmen rush build. Not a lot of ranged units, but so much pressure coming from every angle here that Hero of Rome's going to have to start pulling in, or sorry, Consul of Rome. I keep calling it Hero of Rome. There's another player by that name. But anyway, Consul's going to have to start pulling in some of his reserve troops to defend here. The handgunners already getting compromised pretty heavily. Is a rough get for sure. But let's see. Great Swords and Flagellants. Spears able to win out in the front line. No surprises there. Another Wind Blast does a pretty good amount of damage to those handgunners. Nice support in the front line, though. We've got some Hammer of Sigmar. That is going to put these guys up to 56 melee attack. Although their weapon strength is debuffed, they're still going to be making good contact on those Cold One Spear Riders. Not exactly an engagement that they're meant for, but yeah, the handgunners are having a hard time. They're kind of getting caught up against this little village here. This little kind of set of houses, and end up getting chased off. The Cohort of Sotek as well, with Harmonic Convergence up to 66 attack and 49 defense. That's pretty good. They're going to get charged by Flagellants here. The Flagellants actually will match up pretty cost-effectively against the Cohort of Sotek, but infantry units trying to run away from red-crested skinks is just bad. Red crests have poison. They're really fast. They'll just keep up and keep eating you up. Really nice AoE net here. Does catch a number of units. The balance of power still surprisingly close, all things considered. There's a lot of these Empire infantry still pretty healthy. Some Empire Knights over here got great hold of those Chameleon Skinks. Chameleon Skinks do cost as much as those handgunners, so good stuff there. Some of the handgunners are routing away. They might actually be able to get free and return to the fight. Get some nice Overwatch fire here. We'll see. The Lizardmen don't have that great of tools for pursuing, but you can see those Horned ones staying focused on the silver bullets. That's definitely a good play there. Balance power starting to turn slightly against the Empire, but this is potentially dangerous if, like, this unit of handgunners rallies and gets a really good volley on that Red Crest Chief there, just like this. If Consul of Rome notices this and starts shooting that Red Crest, like getting these two units to kind of crossfire the Red Crest in isolation here, could be a very, very good way to get back in this fight. We'll see. Looks like a Shem's Burning Gaze. Not sure exactly where that went off to. Trying to snipe out looks like the Skink Priest, but didn't do too much damage to him, unfortunately. That caster's going to have to be careful not to get caught up by the Knights. But yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Consul of Rome did not notice those handgunners in time. The little Red Crest is going to be able to get out and away. These handgunners do get a good volley here, though. Don't quite have enough models to probably take them down, unfortunately. But yeah, these Skink cohorts have caught up at this point. Looks like A-Move has got this one pretty well wrapped up. Empire, the handgunners, this is the one reason why I'm not the biggest fan of handgunners in comparison to either Outriders or Pistoliers, because they can get compromised. In this situation, like, once your backline gets overran, you can run away with those Outriders and kind of keep kiting and shooting and live to fight another day. But the handgunners, especially because handgunners are really pretty slow, to be honest, for how lightly the armored they are pretty slow. Like, what are they? Yeah, only 31 speed is against lizardmen, especially because skinks are so fast. They can easily catch you and cut you down. And even just in general, in most matchups, like most factions can get on top of handgunners pretty easily these days. So just kind of a weird situation, but War and Peace, there we go. Bannerlord streams. Oh yeah. Bannerlord streams. Somebody was calling me out for being boring on Bannerlord. I was like, yeah, I'm having fun, so why are you watching if you're not enjoying, honestly? Yeah, the Empire Infantry is going to try and make their final stand here as my voice cracks like a 13-year-old. No big deal. But, yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with Bannerlord. Just honestly trading. I started... Last night I started playing a Raider character as well. That's been pretty fun. Yeah, you can do some pretty hilarious things, just like robbing villagers and stuff, but... Like, Bannerlord definitely has some issues. I've seen a lot of people really negative about it, but I think it's... I just have to be honest with you guys. I have been addicted to it, like, straight up. So... Even though it is flawed, absolutely, and unfinished, just me as a person, like, that kind of game, just that medieval life simulator sandbox, is what I want. And no doubt, I mean, it's still early on in development. They're still going to be updating it and, you know, releasing more stuff. And the mod scene, of course, the biggest thing is now that it's officially released, the modders can really, like, dig in deep and start to get to work. And that's really where the longevity of that game is going to come from. Because you look at Warband's modding scene is incredible, right? So, yeah, at this point, it's just the Archlector. Archlector's still trying to fight here. We still got a few spearmen with shields over there. Last of the flagellants get finished off, and that should be the Archlector giving up the fight. Maybe not. He's fighting. He's got only 30 attack. That's pretty bad, to be honest. Considering he's dual-wielding hammers, like, you should have anti-infantry, right? Every unit with dual wield should have anti-infantry, except for the orc units that, for some reason, have anti-large dual-wielding, because orcs. Ugh. Oh yeah, this Archlector, man, he's a brave one. He does have that Soulfire, which is actually going to do some damage over time, but it's all a matter of if he hits army losses or not. Move can actually get a surround here and get some units to start making consistent contact on him. It's not even like he has that great a melee defense, to be honest, but there we go. That should do it. Maybe. He's holding his leadership. He's holding it. Archlector versus the world. Can he do it? Nah, he's done. Yep, there it is. There it is. And there's army losses. Yeah, it's totally different. I don't know who told you it was a bad Total War copy. That person was lying out of their teeth. Like, that is just not true at all. It's more like I don't know what you describe it, like an RPG, but you have a warband with you. Anyway, all right, Tank, you're up. You got the password info and everything already, so. Cool. We'll get another map lined up here. Hopefully one that's not too terrible. Like, let's do Iron Sand Desert. That's a pretty common one, but it's also decent. Spoiler alert, no. Release more Skaven Weapons Teams DLC. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see when they start announcing stuff. I don't know if we'll see anything this month, to be honest. I hope so, but hydrate, yep. Get some hydration, exactly. Exactly. So right now, we've got these guys, and then Sarmatian, you're going to be up, and then right now, that's it. So, I haven't really been tracking the wins, to be honest. We've just been kind of hanging out. We'll see. I may actually call it a stream here. I do need to get some other stuff done today, but we might keep going. We've only been going for like an hour. We need Skaven Clan Molder units. Yes, yes we do. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go turn the heater up. It's a little chilly here today, so I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. Pay to wand DLC. You listen to a lot of people's comments, you would think that every DLC is like that, and what I say to that is well, sorry, someone's distracting me. Oh yeah, pay to wand. Like I think people are giving CA too much credit, to be honest. Like I don't think it's that nefarious. I don't know that they're that clever. I think it's just that they're not great at balancing when things are first coming out. Like they're pretty good, now especially better than they used to be. But like it seems like consistently every DLC there's like one or two units that end up a little bit overtuned, and it's not necessarily, I don't know. Like I don't know that I just don't think they have the resources to properly test. Like I know they have a testing group and so on, but I don't know like exactly how all of that works. Like I don't know the mechanics of how all of the testing and QA works, but it seems like it's just I know they're a pretty small company. They don't have the most resources in the world. Like I would say they're like a AA company. They're not necessarily like a AAA company. But anyway. Chill of Santar. Optimus Pine. I'm tempted to time you out for that. I eat cereal without milk. Yeah, Greenskins and Wood Elves. The Wood Elves and the Beastmen actually, I think, need, in terms of campaign, and the Greenskins also, actually, for that matter, those three need the biggest reworks. Chaos And Norska could also do with a rework, but we'll see. I don't know if we'll ever get a rework for them. Maybe right before Game 3. Oh yeah, Thomas, I remember. I totally forgot to change it, but... Anyway, here we are for the next battle. Tank going to be taking the rats against the lizards. Okay, so we've got rattling guns, poison wind mortars, Skaven slaves, looks like a plague priest, and a gracier. So double... it's the double cart, the bell and the furnace, which is allowed. We've got rat ogres, clan rat spears, and yeah, interesting build. Very interesting build. For the lizardmen side, we've got some flyers here. Pterodon riders. Looks like the stocked umbral tide. I actually like that pick quite a bit in this matchup. The stock is pretty nice, and they do good damage against large targets. Got some Pawhawk sentinels as well. Pawpox cohort, red crest. Nice wide build. Tic-tac-toe, so already a moral victory. We've also got a manticore summoner, feral bastillodon. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh my, Optimus, you are a bad person. You should feel bad about what you're doing. Yeah, those 3 campaigns are pretty bad. The Chaos one isn't the worst. I've actually been playing a Chaos campaign recently, and it's very basic, but I mean, you just destroy the world. It's pretty straight up, and it is kind of fun, actually, to be honest. The Beastmen, though, like their start locations, and I think they need some more unique mechanics and stuff. The Chaos one is just very basic. It's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with it, per se. It's just that it's so simple. Norska could do with a little bit of a rework, just that they need more start positions and lords, because they literally only have 2 lords. 3 lord choices in total. So yeah, they just need a rework from a character standpoint. They just need more characters to choose from. But anyway, here we are. These guys are going to be getting rolling here. You can see the artillery is kind of backed up against this cliff here. If we kind of perch up on this rock like an eagle, you can get a nice view of the field. And yeah, those Pawhawk Sentinels going to be eating the shots at first. They do have some physical resistance, but obviously physical resistance doesn't help against the magic damage of those Warp Lightning Cannons. And it does look like they've got a slow here. Warp Storm Scroll from the Greysteer Lore of Ruin is a pretty nice one. Does debuff their speed heavily and does a good amount of damage as well. Pretty strong. I believe that's usable only on flying units, I want to say. So a pretty nice kind of direct counter there. Likewise, the Lore of Ruin caster also has, what is it? Howling Warp Gale, that's the spell. So right now, the shots for the Poison Wind Mortars just kind of being spread around to different units of the Lizardmen, which is pretty good. Just applying that kind of dot effect around the field is going to be super solid. The Skink Advance is coming. Will it get broken up pretty badly here is the question. The Plague Priest definitely playing pretty far forward here. It's going to have to be careful, although it will reveal these Umbral Tide as they get a volley here. It will reveal them to the Warp Lightning Cannons. The Warp Lightning Cannons right now, though, focused on the Feral Bastillodons, obviously, that up-close terror. And we have a Manticore summon going down. Hear that nice, sweet sound effect that we're all familiar with. And yeah, the cohort of Sotek, where are they at? Over here, getting into the Skaven slaves, starting to cut them through. So yeah, we'll see. It looks like potential drop rocks coming here on these Pterodon riders. Oh man, they get caught by a Howling Warp Gale just directly on top of those Rattling Guns. This is a really, really bad situation to be in. These Rattling Guns will probably get a lot of fire just directly up in the air. Just absolutely mow these guys down. So a nice Howling Warp Gale there from Tank to keep those guys in place. Yeah, the Umbral Tide, though, definitely making their presence felt here. Warp Lightning Cannons are now switching onto them, and we've got some Summon Clan Rats also trying to keep them bogged up. Pawpox cohort find a hole, though. These Rat Ogres will be able to countercharge them, but at the very least, they do get some contact on those Rattling Guns to shut them down, force them off, and then actually choose to directly charge the Rat Ogres, utilizing that charge bonus and that anti-large bonus to get a lot of damage on those Rat Ogres. And Rat Ogres do rely quite a bit on their charge as well. 50 charge bonus on Rat Ogres. they are definitely shock units, right? So a nice advance from the lizardmen kind of pushing up on this flank here. Looks like we've also got Wiston's wild form as well to give those guys a little bit more armor. That's interesting. It looks like, unfortunately, it did not hit the Popopox cohort. But, yeah, Umbral Tide continuing to make their presence felt. You can see the Skink Priest Lord of Beasts here is now going to be the next target. Tank's getting a little bit discombobulated, kind of spreading his fire around here, but it looks like some of the Overwatch shots are actually going to hit the Umbral Tide, so that's just fine. That's actually really good. And the second Manticore summon going to be used before this poor little skink bro gets absolutely sniped. He does get his magic out there, and you can see the chameleon skinks moving in. They might try and actually take Ikid Zap Zap crew in melee to just stop them from fighting, but a nice Plague Monk summon here, and the cart going to roll over to get some support against these cohort of Sotek. It looks like, unfortunately, the Plague Monks don't actually have an attack order there, which is unfortunate. They're anti-infantry, and good weapon strength will do a lot to those cohort of Sotek, but it looks like for the time being, unfortunately, they did drop their order there. That being said, the Rat Ogres are dealt with in the back line. You can see the Chameleon Skinks did manage to occupy that artillery crew now, so they should be shutting them down. They're still online for the time being, though. Still able to get some shots. Haven't finished off the Skink Priest or the Umbral Tide, though, so a few high-value targets still online, still able to provide some DPS against large targets of the Skaven. Likewise, Tic-Tac-Toe I haven't really highlighted at all, but he's completely healthy still, having not been targeted at all by the Howling Warp Gales and ranged units. A-Move's done a great job keeping him alive, and he's going to come in and do a ton of armor-piercing damage along with the Manticore to this Plague Priest here. The Popopox cohort now gets screened out by the Rat Ogres there, but those shots from the Umbral Tide definitely will do some damage as well. Just try to burn those carts down. You know, I really feel like these carts should have weakness to fire damage. What do you guys think? Like, look at this thing. It is literally made out of wood as much as a tree man is, right? So it should definitely be weak to fire damage. But anyway, let's not think about that too much. We've got Skink cohorts now fighting clan rats just kind of all across the field. A lot of the rat units are starting to run away, which is very good, obviously, for the lizardmen. You can see them starting to pull ahead slightly on the balance of power here. The Feral Bastillodon able to keep a lot of these units kind of terrifying away towards this edge. And Skinks, again, one of the great things, like we saw in the last game, about Skinks is their fast speed. They're quick. They're quick little buggers. They really have pretty bad stats, to be honest, in terms of their cost, like for attack and defense. They're comparable to something like Deckhands, but their power comes from their speed, and that they can chase routing units better than any other infantry, except for maybe Beastmen. I guess Skaven too. Skaven infantry are pretty fast as well, but that does mean in this matchup, whereas like, say, Empire or High Elves, your infantry can't chase Skaven infantry off. Like, they're just not fast enough to chase Skaven infantry off. Skinks, on the other hand, are just fast enough to keep those Skaven units routing and able to chase them off here. But let's see. Looks like we do have a few units that didn't quite get fully chased off there. They might be able to come back, but they are all very low on leadership. You can see the Skaven Lord also is kind of stuck in this weird crossfire situation. Tank kind of got himself singled out, but an excellent tic-tac-toe build. And for those of you guys who think that the lizardmen are weak, like, man, they're so not. Such a good faction, to be honest. This is one matchup that's considered pretty tough for them, and I would say Tank even brought a pretty good build here. I would have changed maybe a couple things about it, but it's pretty strong. Definitely pretty strong. Personally, I might have taken a cheaper Lord. Like, I might have taken, yeah, just someone different that's a little bit cheaper, and probably would have gone with maybe one or two Storm Vermin, Sword and Shield, just because in this matchup, they match up, like, they can beat most Lizardman infantry pretty well. They can kind of give you a solid backbone to fall back to as well. I might have taken one of them. It's hard to say, though. Really good, really nice builds from A-Move here. Lizard's weak, I know, right? Yeah, treatment is living wood. Exactly, Sarmation. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That thing should go up like Kindle or Tinder. Kindle Flame. I don't know. Yeah, I do think it was a little bit too much range pressure. Like 2 Warp Lightning Cannons plus 2 weapons teams is a lot to protect. So you could even trade like these Warp Lightning Cannons down for like Storm Vermin, or even just more Rat Ogres, and go with more of an aggressive approach. Try and rush, like counter rush the Lizardmen, because A-Move had a lot of range tools here. But if the Skaven had gone with a counter rush, like they didn't have a lot of options for really dealing with that super effectively. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I like that quite a bit. All right, Sarmation, you're up. I'll go ahead and PM you the deets. That was a good build. I like that a lot. Tic-tac-toes, underrated in that matchup, I think. In that, against the Gunline factions, like against... I actually haven't tried him against Coast. I think he'd get eaten alive by Harkon in the air, unless you took enough support that it would just not be worth it. You'd get shot. Like, against Coast, I don't know that it would work, but against Dwarfs and against Skaven, actually, those 2 matchups, I think, I've seen a lot of tic-tac-toe recently, and I'm starting to think that he might actually be meta in those matchups, which is weird to say out loud, because he's tic-tac-toe. But and let's go to El Angui, which is nice, asymmetric, but still balanced map. Yeah, exactly, Benny Swirl. Like, you can use them in the missile defense playstyle, and you use it very much like Tank did, as kind of like roving blockers that can also summon, and just like continuously break up your opponent's advance and just keep throwing numbers at them. It works okay in that situation, but like A-Move's build was just too wide. He had too much pressure in general, so it was a good one. I really like that build from A-Move, and because Tic-Tac-Toe is so cheap, and again, the caster's so cheap as well, you can throw 2 Manticores out for like 500, 600 gold, right? Like, it's great value to go super wide like that against Skaven, for sure. Yeah, exactly. You can rush with missile units still. Like and exactly like what you're saying, you rush with like 2 Rattling Gunners still in your backline. So you have that up close range pressure, and not only that, but the speed debuff kind of helps you control once you get into range as well. But then having a lot heavier of a melee presence, like 4 Rat Ogres, definitely standard for a rush build. And then like a Bell is good too. You maybe want like 2 Sword and Board Storm Vermin, a ton of chaff to just run everywhere. Yeah, and even like 1 unit of flares to break up enemy infantry and run shop. This flares heavy armor too, and their small hitbox makes them really hard to hit for Lizardmen missile units. So they're actually like ideal for running down Lizardmen missiles. Even, I mean, Razordons probably have the best chance hitting them, and even then, like because the unit models are so small, the hitbox is so small, it's tough. Are there factions that you would want to go elite versus? Vampire counts a lot of the time, or I don't know. You can kind of get drained out sometimes and surrounded though. I don't know. Against vampire counts though, like your chaff units will just lose hard to their chaff units because theirs are unbreakable in many cases. Against chaos, it can actually be good to go elite and pretty narrow. Sometimes for certain factions against like high elves as well, it can be good to go relatively narrow and elite. Most of the time, though, I would recommend, like, I don't know, in most matchups, you go, and granted, this is just my own personal playstyle, but, like, at least 15 units, you know? That's what I try and get to, at least. But yeah, definitely against them, like, basically, the more attack and defense a faction has, kind of as a general rule, the more elite you want to go against them. Who'd agree? Now, going super elite against like wide missile factions, like dwarfs though, can be very dangerous. Just be aware of that. Censer Bearers are okay in that matchup. They have a lot of charge bonus, actually. That's not one thing many people consider about Censer Bearers, is that their charge bonus is actually so high. They're like a shock infantry, right? But... yeah, sorry, Rubber Duck. My apologies. Yeah, I gotta get some more stuff done today, so gotta get some more videos recorded throughout the week for you guys. Get some stuff lined up, and I need to finally finish that leadership and health video. Mistakes to avoid playing when playing as Norska. Getting too spread out, I would say. Also, yeah, Norska's an interesting faction. They're super strong. Like because they don't really have that many bad matchups, they just match up well against a lot of factions. But yeah, getting things isolated and like I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that a little bit. Mistakes to avoid when playing as Norska. You always need something to pressure missile units. That's one thing. You are relatively weak to missile units, so like you need at least a couple mobility units to try and pressure enemy missile lines. Feral Manticores are also very good for Norska. Pretty underrated because it gives you a cheap terror option, but I really like Feral Manticores just in general. But yeah, mistakes to avoid. Taking anyone besides Wolfric, that's a mistake. That's a mistake for sure. There are like 1 or 2 situations where you might want to take the Marauder Chieftain on the Mammoth, but just take Wolfric on different mounts for different situations, but always take Wolfric. Like, Throg is, he's just kind of bad, to be honest, right now. He doesn't have enough HP or armor or melee defense to survive, and he's a pretty big target too, so he's not that expensive. Losing him isn't the worst thing in the world, but it is still losing your lord, you know. He's still pretty expensive. Do they Banny Swirl? I think Bestigors might have higher, but I'm not sure about that. I'd have to check. With their Primal Fury buff active, I think they have higher, but I'd have to check. I know it's those two are like competing for the top shock infantry, right? Yes, they can. Marauder Horsemen, yep. They're, especially the Norskin Marauder Horsemen, if you can get their Enrage going by like using them to chase low-tier routing units or like running down missile units, like low-tier missile units, you can get their Enrage going. And once their Enrage is going, they have a little bit of extra melee attack and that physical resistance. They're actually really nice kind of hybrid melee missile cav. I mean, they're already pretty good hybrid melee missile cav, I would say. In general, I think, besides Pistoliers, of course, I'm biased. I think Pistoliers are the best missile cav in the game. I'd say Marauder Horsemen are a close second, though, for sure. They're so good. Javelins do a ton of damage. They have good AP values. They have good melee stats. The Throwing Axe version also has a missile block chance, which I think is unique to Skirmish Cavalry, I want to say. And they also do really good damage as well, armor piercing. They have a little bit more melee defense also from having a shield. And then you've got Horse Masters, which are, you know, much more heavily armored, just have better overall stats. I guess not much more heavily armored. They have like, what, 20, 30 more armor? But yeah, the Bearers do have Frenzy, that's true. So I guess it kind of equals out, right? They both have the same buff, more or less. Yep, like hit and run attacks especially, like a quick hit and run on some light low tier infantry like peasants or like goblins or something. If you can like charge them and get out really fast, like and throwing javelins the whole time, of course, they can function reasonably well as like a light shock cavalry. But it looks like someone might have crashed. Somebody tab out while the game was loading. Who tabbed out while the game's loading? Oh no, we're good. We're good. Here we are. Let's see what we've got here. Balthazar Gelt for Samation up in the air. That's an interesting choice. We've got some handgunners and some crossbowmen. Free Company Militia, Sterling's Revenge. We've got grenade launchers as well. A couple Empire Knights. Great swords, flagellants, some spearmen. Is this an auto-gen build? No, no, no. Clearly not. Okay. It is just an interesting build. 3 great swords, 2 flagellants. Yeah, Balthazar. I'm curious to see how this goes up against the dwarfs. This is a tough matchup for sure for the Empire. We've got cannons galore. We've got, 4 cannons, miners with blasting charges, a bunch of dwarf warriors, which are going to be very cost-effective against the Empire. And Slayers as well. We've got the Dragonback Slayers. Looks like 1 unit of Quarrelers with great weapons. Quarrelers with great weapons. That's interesting. And I guess for fighting cavalry, I'm not really sure, to be honest. And Dragonback Slayers. And there was, one... The Ulthar's Raiders as well, hidden somewhere. Interesting. Very interesting. Bestigors. Yeah, Bestigors are the top-tier infantry for the Beastmen. They have low melee defense, but very good weapon strength and charge. And they're also heavily armored. So, in my opinion, they're a little bit better than Censer Bearers. But they're comparable units in many ways. Yeah, that's a lot of Daka. That's a lot of Daka against the Empire, which is honestly what you need. But we'll see if he can protect against the rush here. Could be pretty nasty. Might be overkill. It's probably going to be overkill. But it all kind of just depends. Yeah, Dark Riders, I don't consider Dark Riders like skirmish cavalry. I consider them like mounted. Same thing with Outriders. They're more like mounted missile infantry. Like, you just kind of use them functionally differently than you would say, like, Pistoliers or, like, Marauder Horsemen or Goblin Wolf Riders. What are the Flagellants for? I'm not really sure, to be honest. Maybe killing Slayers? Oh, these Sterling's Revenge. They're going to get absolutely lit up by 4 cannons. And all of these Rangers as well. That's pretty brutal. But we've got the Empire line kind of sweeping in from the side here. They've got quite a few units hidden in the woods. And because... excuse me. Because of the way the Dwarf formation is set up here, they're going to be able to maneuver through the woods, potentially, with a lot of their cavalry. And get in pretty decently close range without taking too much damage. But, oh yeah, man, those Sterling's Revenge... This is going to be rough, too. If Sarmatian deploys his cavalry right here, then the Empire Knights could potentially just get lit up by cannons, and you can see immediately A-Move Hacker switches targets to go after those Empire Knights. Rune of Wrath and Rune on one of them, and yeah, that unit's going to get deleted by cannons. But in the meanwhile, these greatswords, that also leaves them to advance relatively free from fire as well. You can see Balthazar charges down. He's going to interrupt those miners from being able to throw their charges there. Very good stuff. Not really sure about the Spearmen as well, but yeah, these Empire Knights is getting absolutely lit up by cannon fire. The other unit does make good contact, but I mean, considering they're charging a 500-point unit of Rangers, this is not a cost-effective trade whatsoever. I guess the gun units are able to get a little bit of Overwatch fire, and maybe this will end up being cost-effective if these greatswords can get into combat, and the Knights and stuff can get into combat without taking too much Overwatch fire on the other side, but it's not a great value proposition for the Empire from the get-go. Yeah, both those Empire Knights going to immediately flee off the field. You can see then that does leave this very heavy dwarf missile presence kind of on the flank of the Empire. They do have some units to try and contest this area, but dwarfs definitely have a superior kind of missile line there. You can see now the Empire Knights out in the open field. Again, just going to get focused down by 4 cannons. Not a lot they can do to try and resist that. But grenade launchers are coming in. They were out very, very wide, so it's going to take them some time to get in. Same with the Zintler's Reichsguard. Will take them quite a bit of time to sweep up and around the field. And yeah, this is rough. These Empire units get caught in a brutal crossfire here. Those greatswords getting absolutely deleted. This is basically why this matchup is considered tough for the Empire, right? Balthazar is going to come in, throw an Overcast Final Transmutation on these dwarf artillery pieces, but it is a little bit late here. Zintler's Reichsguard also getting screened out very nicely there. Grenade launchers, though, coming in, doing some good amount of damage to those Dragonback Slayers. The dwarf artillery pieces probably will get blown up, but is it worth one Overcast Final Transmutation to... I mean, the cannons have already done so much damage, right? And, yeah, the Zintler's Reichsguard, I mean, you took down 2 of the cannons almost all the way, but even still, there's 2 more, and those Reichsguard just getting absolutely lit up. I don't see this ending well for Sarmatian at this point. Yeah. 4 cannons against the dwarves is just rough. It's rough, man. Taking that initial engagement here, like, I definitely would have just kept everything back hidden in the woods while the rest of the forces wheel up and around so that you can bring everything in at the same time. I honestly think that the build might have had a pretty good chance at that point if he was able to bring all of his knights to bear at the same time. Like, the cannons can't shoot all 4 knights at the same time, but in this situation where they were able to kind of sort of single them individually out almost, it was a little bit tough. I know, Aristo, it sounds like semantics, but there's a difference, trust me. There's a difference in how you utilize them. Like, I utilize them more like I would handgunners that can run away, I guess, right? Or like the Dark Riders. They're literally just Dark Shards with less models that can run away, is the way I see it. Like, they can get out of danger if they need to. A lot of people I see, and I've made this mistake myself, is trying to use them to contest other missile cavalry. It doesn't work, right? Like, because they can shoot 360, they can shoot you while they're chasing you, and while you're running away, you can't shoot them. Like, they don't contest against other missile cavalry super well, which is why I don't consider them skirmish cavalry, right? But, like, mounted missile infantry, I don't know. It makes more sense to me. Bears are probably Skaven's best anti-large infantry. Yeah, I'd imagine with their charge bonus and with their attack buffs active, they actually hit harder than Storm Vermin do. Just kind of sad and hilarious, but... Let's see, is that Balthazar now getting pounded by a cannon? He's also trying to fight this Rune Lord in melee, which is probably not the best idea. Rune Lord actually, I think, might be a better combatant than him, at least just from an armor standpoint. But the grenade launchers are still pouring in some fire here, getting some effective shots in on those Dwarf Warriors, and you can see kind of what would have maybe been done a little bit earlier if Sarmatian had been able to keep his forces you know, kind of deployed all together at the same time, but oh man, this could potentially be bad. These blasting charges are getting a little bit surrounded here. They're also going to get hit by, or the grenades getting hit by blasting charges. It seems appropriate. But Empire is actually advancing okay here. They're not completely out of this yet, perhaps. These great swords maybe can come get in, get some good contact, but just this missile presence right here is what I think is going to win the dwarfs the game. Like, I really don't think there's anything... These guys can just come in and individually start mowing down these great swords. And yeah, Rune of Wrath and Ruin on Balthazar there. He gets wrecked by a cannon, just straight up dome-shotted. Poor Balthazar, he didn't deserve this. Actually, he probably did, to be honest. They're okay, melee cavalry. If you have Murderous Prowess active especially, then you can use them as a lot better as melee cavalry. But, yeah, they're alright. Right, see, exactly, Aristo, which is why I say mounted missile infantry. They're superior to regular missile infantry because they're mounted, but they still can't skirmish against proper skirmish cavalry, right? So now you kind of see what I'm saying? But yes, exactly. They can skirmish with stuff like chameleon skinks or archers because they are mounted, so they can shoot and then retreat and, you know. Yeah, the range issue is sometimes a bit of an issue, but I don't honestly hate this build from Sarmatian too much. I think there's definitely some good elements to it. Maybe just getting caught out there by that kind of massive ambush of rangers in the Vanguard there was definitely pretty tough. And like the Bugman's Rangers, man, that was just a nice little Vanguard situation. And playing forward from your cannons like that is always super important when you're going to play a kind of defensive missile build like that. Like having an aggressive Vanguard like that seizes the initiative in a pretty big way to where Sarmatian's kind of forced to react to A-Move's build, and it ends up putting A-Move in a very commanding position throughout the course of the battle. So, good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the cannons worked, but I really think it was more about that Vanguard force of Rangers than anything else. I really think that was the key to victory there, because it was able to draw out 2 Empire Knights, which is what, like 1,600 points right off the bat, and then, yeah... from there, they were able to kind of continue to contest against. They mowed down what, like a unit of greatswords, a unit of flagellants as well. So I mean, that's just great value having that strong missile presence over on the other side, for sure. Very concentrated missile presence, right? It's like a local fire superiority. It's like what I like to call it. Very valid concept. So I think that's going to be it for today. I'm looking now. I haven't had anybody else. So yeah. Big thanks, everyone, for joining. It's been a ton of fun. Big thanks to all the players. And it looks like Amove took home, what did he, like 3 wins, I think? 2 wins, maybe? I don't know. It was fun, though. Fun, for sure. Blasting charges OP. Yeah, blasting charges are so good against Empire infantry, and a lot of factions infantry, to be honest. But good thing miners have awful melee stats. Otherwise, they would be legit OP. Yeah. Yeah, Optimus Prime, you're probably right. I don't know, actually. I don't know that it's necessarily that hopeless. I just think it's definitely the toughest matchup for the Empire. I will say that. It is absolutely the toughest for the Empire. So, big thanks to everyone for coming out. That's going to be it for me for today. But I'll be having a multiplayer battle replay releasing later this afternoon. And, yeah, tomorrow, be sure to join for the tournament. I actually have a major tournament being hosted tomorrow. The inaugural Banner Cup #1. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Bannerlord to the winner and some other Steam gift cards to second place and the person that gets the most wins with generic lords. So be sure to tune in for that. We'll be starting that tomorrow morning at, I believe I put it for, what, 9 a.m., 10 a.m.? Let me double check here. Yeah, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so be sure to join for that. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye now.